You'll like this. I just got out of a meeting with the boss and, well, congratulations. You've done a great job. Here.
So not a bad way to start up this episode, I guess. Hello there guys and welcome, it is Niren here, and today it is time for round number 7 of our F1 2016 career mode. We are at Canada, although this cutscene you're seeing is from the end of Monaco. We have been promoted by the team already. Renault are happy with our performances. We've basically out-qualified Magnussen and out-raced him in every single Grand Prix so far, so I suppose it's unsurprising, but we have been promoted to the number 1 spot, which means we earn more resource points per race weekend. We get a bit of a bonus because we're now the first team driver. And talking of resource points, we're actually going to spend some. We have 826 in the bank and we're spending some more on some more downforce for the Canadian Grand Prix, and then we will focus on some more sort of straight line speed for Baku and future races as well, with an engine upgrade hopefully coming for Belgium and Monza. In the background you can see that new part has indeed been fitted. The monkey seat has been fitted to improve the downforce on the car for a track like Canada where downforce is pretty important. It's going to be pretty important around Baku as well, which is a bit of an all-round circuit when it comes to the parts that you need on the car. We're getting into Canada for our first weekend as a first driver. Can't believe we've already been promoted to that role. It's pretty impressive. We've had a very good start to the season realistically, especially after that Monaco result. We have been pretty impressive in our comparison with our teammate Kevin Magnussen. So we are the new first team driver, and we've got to prove, and we've got to prove ourselves. We've got to lead by example, and we're doing that so far this weekend into practice, an intermediate condition practice actually. Sort of wet conditions striking the Montreal circuit, and we got a purple score for track acclimatization on our first go, so 50 resource points in the bank already, and now we are trying the qualifying pace, up by a 10th already through the first corner. We got a little bit ragged on the exit of the final corner, but we will still be at least 7/10ths faster than the target time, and we get a purple score on that on our first try, so it's going pretty damn well. Into practice 2, because I thought we'd have a better chance of the tyre wear test in dry conditions, and we're coming across the line to end lap number 6, and we have got the green target score. It doesn't seem as if we're going to get the purple one, so we decide that we're going to return to garage here, and that was a fatal error because I'd spent 6 laps doing this, and I thought that it would save what I'd just done, but apparently you actually have to do the 7th lap, which I didn't do, so I lost those 30 resource points, and I was not willing to do those 6 laps again. Regrettably, that would have been our first resource points, actually, when it came to the tyre management test, I think. So that's a little bit frustrating. We could have had 130 in terms of the practice programs. Instead, we have 100 because we got those perfect scores for track acclimatization and qualifying pace, and we also earned some through team objectives as well. So we've got a pretty healthy store of resource points in the bank, despite spending quite a lot of them on that downforce upgrade. In the background, though, you can see that our agent has given us a new rival, and it is Jenson Button, the man directly in front of us in the driver's standings. The McLaren Honda is our new rival, so we've got to try and battle him in terms of beating him in qualifying and beating him in the race as well. The Brit, of course, announced retirement. We'll see, though, if we can beat him in this qualifying session as we now head on to the qualifying report. Kimi Raikkonen and Ferrari were top of the timing sheets in Q1 sunny conditions. It wasn't such a good session for Sergio Perez in 18th or Jenson Button, however, who was also eliminated in 20th.
And for the first 3 corners I just had massive front locking, so yeah, it's a bit frustrating because it was alright up until then.
Meanwhile, the manner of Pascal Wehrlein progressed to Q2. The second quali session saw Lewis Hamilton fastest in the Mercedes. Both Renault showed solid pace in 12th and 13th, whilst Nico Hülkenberg just pipped Monaco winner Carlos Sainz to a shootout spot. Q3 would see Lewis Hamilton fastest again, however an infringement in practice would later see him drop to 6th, gifting Nico Rosberg pole. Daniel Ricciardo would start in a brilliant 2nd, ahead of both of the Ferrari cars. So it'll be Nico Rosberg starting on pole for the Canadian Grand Prix after his teammate's grid penalty. Daniel Ricciardo will start alongside him in 2nd, with the 2 Ferrari cars on row 2. Max Verstappen will start in 5th ahead of Lewis Hamilton in 6th, then it's the 2 Williams cars in 7th and 8th of Bottas and Massa. Daniel Kvyat is P9 ahead of Hulkenberg rounding out the top 10. Then it's Carlos Sainz in 11th and Yusufu in 12th for Renault. So then another pretty solid qualifying session, but crucially this time our teammate Kevin Magnussen doing a pretty decent job as well. That's nice to see our teammate finally getting at least close to the top 10 and starting to actually challenge us properly in qualifying and hopefully in the race as well. You could see there were our qualifying goals. We managed to pass, I do believe, all of those. Jenson Button had an absolute horror story of a qualifying session. We just beat Kevin Magnussen and we did just qualify 13th or higher because we stuck it on P12 for the Canadian Grand Prix, which is wet at the start. That new downforce upgrade, should help us out quite a lot. For those that were wondering and that didn't know, the downforce upgrade that we actually set in motion at the start of the episode, we did that right at the end of the Monaco Grand Prix weekend, so that is on the car for this Grand Prix, this Canadian Grand Prix weekend, so that should help us at least in these wet conditions where we're going to need some downforce. There's Nico Rosberg, he's on pole for this Grand Prix, having inherited that first position due to Lewis Hamilton's grid penalty. What he got it for, I don't know. I think it happened in FP2. But he got a grid penalty. Here you can see in the background is the strategy. I'm more showing you the screen actually for the session forecast. The strategy will go completely out of the window because, as you can see, it's going to dry up pretty damn quickly in this race to the point where it's actually fairly sunny towards the end of it. But it's not sunny now. It's very much overcast and it's very much raining. We're starting from P12 just behind Carlos Sainz, the hero of last episode, winning in Monaco. If you haven't seen that race, then you need to definitely go back and check it out. But we're behind him and Nico Hulkenberg. We've got our Danish teammate Kevin Magnussen behind us on the grid. He's P13. Finally, it looks as if we're making strides with both of the cars in terms of performing well throughout this season, but we are now facing yet again the anxious wait as the rest of the field line up behind us. It's a pretty long wait these days, which is nice to see given we're so high up the order in comparison to the start of the series, but the lights are now starting to illuminate for the Canadian Grand Prix. The 5 lights are on and they are now off here for round number 7 of this F1 2016 season. It's a poor start from Magnussen, it's a poor start from both the Toro Rossos. We go past both Sainz and Kvyat, but Kvyat lunges it back up the inside of us. We're looking up the inside of Nico Hulkenberg. We've got the 2 Williams cars ahead of us. Daniel Kvyat's gone a little bit wide there as well, which has opened the door for us to sneak up the inside. We've made 3 positions already, a tiny bit of contact I think with Daniel Kvyat, and we lose the back end on traction coming out of turn 2. Kvyat then goes deep into the chicane there, and that's lost him a position now I think to Nico Hulkenberg. He was trying to edge it around the outside, was the young Russian, but I think he's got a little bit wrong. I think he's underestimated the lack of grip that he'll be facing, of course, on his first lap with cold tyres on this wet, damp track. We've got Felipe Massa just in front of us. In front of that is his teammate Valtteri Bottas. Later though, on to lap number 1. This first lap of this Grand Prix, and we're looking pretty good. We've edged away from Hulkenberg already, and down the back straight we got a little bit of a twitch out of the hairpin, but we've got a very good run. We're in the slipstream of the Brazilian Felipe Massa down into the final chicane, and are we going to get the job done? Yes we do, because Massa completely outbrakes himself, goes across the chicane. We almost lose it on exit there, struggling for traction already in this Grand Prix. Nico Rosberg is the man that leads, and further down the order at the start of lap 2, and Felipe Nasr is in the wars again. The poor kid has been breaking his front wing like it's going out of business, unfortunately, in recent races, and he's done so again, hitting the back end of Sergio Perez, and that's going to be an unwanted pit stop for Felipe Nasr, especially when the conditions are going to be dry later on in this race. But onto lap 3, and it's looking like a carbon copy move on the other Williams. This is Valtteri Bottas this time. We've gone past Felipe Massa, and now we're dispatching the other Williams as well into exactly the same place on the track. Kimi Raikkonen's gone wide in front of us, and we're going to have a wonderful exit on him. He's just been passed by Lewis Hamilton. He got a shocking exit out of the final chicane, and we go past the Iceman as well, and we're up now into P6 with Lewis Hamilton in front of us. What a first few laps it's been. P12 to P6. Wonderful racing from ourselves, and wonderful racing at the head of the field as well. This is Daniel Ricciardo battling with Nico Rosberg, and Daniel Ricciardo, the Honey Badger, has taken the lead off of Nico Rosberg in that Mercedes. Now, I'm not being funny, but Nico Rosberg needs a wonderful result here. He's had the definition of a poor season. I mean, it's been absolutely shocking for Nico Rosberg, and he's fighting back. These two are going side by side into the final chicane. They've slowed each other down massively. Seb Vettel and Max Verstappen are trying to get in on the act as well. Lewis Hamilton's watching on from a safe distance. Rosberg's got back in front of Ricciardo, but Ricciardo's going up the inside yet again down into turn one. Wonderful racing between the two of them. There's a bit of contact between Rosberg and Ricciardo. All of this, of course, is helping us. These guys tripping each other over at the front of the field is backing everyone back towards us. Ricciardo has held on to the position in the end. And on to lap 4, we're setting purple first sectors. We are absolutely flying in this Renault, which is doing wonderful things in these intermediate conditions, holding off Kimi Räikkönen pretty comfortably, and there's a pretty big gap back to the guys behind. We're stretching away from the Williams cars, which I suppose in essence is pretty unsurprising. The Williams cars are pretty shocking in these conditions. Once again, getting a bit of a twitch on out of that hairpin onto lap number 5. Still keeping Räikkönen at a pretty safe distance, but there's some more battling going on in front of us. That's Max Verstappen being hung out to dry by Sebastian Vettel. Lewis Hamilton's going slowly. We've got a great run on both of them. We're past Lewis Hamilton already, and before we get to the finish line, we're past Max Verstappen too, and up into P4 from 12th on the grid. Thanks to Sebastian Vettel, we'll give him a quick brown envelope in the post full of a little bit of cash. Thanks to him, we've managed to gain 2 positions there, thanks to his forcefulness. This is what it looked like on board from Kimi Räikkönen. You can see Hamilton and Verstappen very slow in front of us. We, though, going to the left-hand side, and we're up into P4 in the Renault. What a wonderful race this has been. Gutsy manoeuvre around the outside as well from Kimi Räikkönen. Going into turn 1 gives Hamilton a little bit of a love tap there to the side pod. I think Kimi Räikkönen gets that move done as well. So Hamilton really struggling to file his way back through the order after the disappointment of that grid penalty. On to lap 7, though, and you can see that we've got a sort of message there from our team radio engineer. He was saying that it's drying up, but we're not ready for dries, of course. We're not ready for slicks at this point. But you can see visibly the track is getting a little bit drier. There's a lot less spray coming up, but we're still getting caught out by it, because we had to go straight on at the final chicane, perhaps feeling the pressure from Max Verstappen, and the boy wonder drive straight through. I mean, we gifted in that position, realistically. I didn't want to, but Verstappen takes P4, and, as you know, realistically, this track is getting drier. The tyres aren't really matching the weather at this moment in time, the conditions out on the track. Our radio engineer, he reckons it's about time to pit. I would honestly have to agree with him there due to that line through the hairpin. We've lost a lot of time, and I think Lewis Hamilton is going to get up the inside of us there. He's got a much better run as well. We again suffer a bit of a snap of oversteer as well coming out of that hairpin. DRS has now been enabled, which would indicate that it is now time to come in for some drier tyres. The crew and the team want me to come in for super softs. I wanted softs originally to see if I could go to the end of the race, literally on one set of tyres, but the crew reckon super softs. At the end of the day, they're the experts, so we're going to listen to them. Everyone else has filed into the pit lane as well, realistically, around us. The intermediates are swapped for a fresh set of the red-walled super soft tyres, and we are ready to go. We're sat behind Lewis Hamilton, the pit limiter is on. Obviously, as we trundle down the pit lane now, we release the throttle, realistically, or release the pit limiter button and head down towards turn 1. The very unique pit exit that we have around here. Still, you know, it's just spitting with rain a little bit, but the track is definitely dry. These tyres most definitely the right ones to be on. Lewis Hamilton setting fastest lap of the race, but that is immediately obliterated. And for the first time in this series, and probably the last time in this season you'll see it, we set fastest lap of the race with a 1:24.7. It didn't last very long. The fastest laps were obviously falling constantly due to the fact the track was constantly getting drier. In front of us, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton were battling. These super softs were working pretty well, as you could tell, because we were obviously setting purple lap times, but eventually the guys around us, despite being on, you know, harder compound tyres, at the end of the day, they're in much quicker cars than us. The intermediate conditions sort of brought us back into play, but realistically the likes of Kimi Räikkönen and Lewis Hamilton are far quicker than us, even on slower tyres. Räikkönen going through onto lap 17 and up into P6, so we're now down to P7, but it's still a pretty damn decent result at this point. This is Nico Rosberg at the moment. He's been battling with a lot of other drivers. He's in P2 at the moment, but that is the end of him sitting in P2 because his engine has blown up, and yet again Lewis Hamilton must be laughing himself silly as he drives past his stricken teammate, because Nico Rosberg is having an absolute mare of a season and he is out of the race again, and it is an engine blowout. We're now up into P6. On to lap 21, we've got more yellow flags down into turn 1. We've got another car off to the side of the track. It's a Williams and it's Valtteri Bottas, who's also out of the race. Whether it's a mechanical failure or a crash, we'll have to wait and see. But Nico Rosberg out of the race yet again. What an absolute travesty for the German. Surely his title challenge is over already. He's well over 100 points behind the series leader Sebastian Vettel. That will increase again today. Valtteri Bottas, you can see, suffered a similar fate. Don't know if he knew that his engine was imploding from underneath him, because he carried on driving for quite some time. But Valtteri Bottas out, Nico Rosberg out. We're down to 20, but thankfully for us at least, we've been gifted a position and we're now up into P6 thanks to that retirement for Nico Rosberg. But you can see down at the bottom right, our tyre wear is a little bit critical at the moment. I was wanting to stretch out this stint so we could put some ultra softs on for the end of the race, and we did just about manage to do so without getting a puncture. So in from P6 we come. Carlos Sainz has gone through. He's looking at a very good result again, actually. Is the Spaniard. He came, I think, 4th in Spain. He, of course, won in Monaco, and he's on for another pretty good result here in Canada as well. I'm sure he'll be crossing his fingers to make sure that Toro Rosso doesn't break down or anything like that. But starting lap number 27, we're out from the pit lane on the ultra soft tyres. We lost quite a lot of time, to be honest with you, at the end of that super soft stint with the tyres going off, and thankfully we just about emerge in front of Daniel Kvyat. But obviously we're on much quicker tyres, much softer tyres than these guys, setting purple lap times to match our tyre compound's wall, if you like. They're going through the first sector. But on to lap 29, and we've caught the yellow soft tyre shod Nico Hülkenberg. And Daniel Kvyat is stuck behind us. I don't know whether Toro Rosso have just painted his ultra softs yellow, because he seems to be showing off a lot of pace at the moment. We've got DRS obviously now in these dry conditions. Kimi Raikkonen sets fastest lap of the race. We don't care though. We're breezing up the inside of Nico Hülkenberg into the final chicane. We're a little bit cautious though, actually. Hülkenberg bunny hops across the chicane and we actually tap wheels. We probably should have committed to that move a little bit better, but we do still take P7. Carlos Sainz is up the road in P6, but he's on super softs. I don't think we're going to have the time to catch him. We've got his teammate though haranguing us from behind, and honestly, Daniel Kvyat, I don't know what soft tyres he's on, but I want some, because they're showing a lot of pace, and he's going up the inside of us, and he's just about bundled across the chicane, but we do just about hold on to the position. Nico Hülkenberg is now trying to get through. We would have easily driven away from Hülkenberg, but Kvyat was causing us all sorts of problems. Nevertheless, with only a few laps to go, and we've got Daniel Ricciardo in the pit lane, with literally 3 laps of this race to go, these soft tyres clearly have not gone to the end, because Nico Hülkenberg, who we've just been battling, is also coming into the pit lane. So I was really questioning the pit crew's decision to put on super softs and then go ultra softs, but clearly it's worked a treat, because the guys on the soft tyres couldn't go to the end, and now they've got to pit with a few laps to go. And all these cars pitting has obviously helped us, but it's also helped our teammate Kevin Magnussen, who currently is in P11, just behind Romain Grosjean in P10. But Felipe Massa on the soft tyres is also potentially going to pit, so we may see Kevin Magnussen in the points here, thanks to a disastrous strategy from quite a lot of the AI cars. On to the final lap though. I can't believe those people on the softs couldn't just stay out one lap longer. Sebastian Vettel has won again. He's extended his lead in the championship once again into the hairpin. These ultra softs are wearing a little bit, but honestly, Daniel Kvyat, seriously, I think this needs to be investigated, because his soft tyres are showing extraordinary amounts of pace, and down the back straight for the final time, the Russian has DRS. We cover the line and he just hits the back of us. I'm not entirely sure why he didn't just duck out. He ducks out now. We give him the hip and shoulder through the final corner, and we do just about hold on to the position. We're going to come towards the line. We're going to take P7. It's yet another decent result here. Not quite as good as Monaco, but it's still some very hefty points. We'll have to now wait and see as to whether our teammate Kevin Magnussen picked up his first top 10 finish of the season, because it was looking pretty good himself, and Romain Grosjean on those ultra soft tyres were catching Felipe Massa hand over fist. And obviously with the likes of Ricciardo and Hülkenberg pitting, potentially Felipe Massa came in and pitted as well. You've just seen Sebastian Vettel. He's celebrating yet another win this season. Genuinely, Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari could actually win this championship. Lewis Hamilton, though his nearest competitor in the championship, is stood alongside himself on the podium. So it'll only be 7 points gained for Vettel in the championship, but still a pretty hefty lead now that the German has in the championship over Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Raikkonen as well on the podium. He's been very inconsistent this season, but it's a good result for him. Daniel Ricciardo, who was leading at one stage, ended up in 4th place. A disappointment for him. Both the Red Bulls having to pit very late on, so a pretty poor strategy from both Ricciardo and Verstappen to go onto the soft tyres. We finished though in 7th with Kvyat in 8th, Grosjean in 9th, and Kevin Magnussen finally. The improvements to the car are paying dividends because Kevin Magnussen is in the points for the first time this season thanks to that pretty poor strategy from the likes of Felipe Massa, Nico Hülkenberg. Hülkenberg was 11th from Wehrlein, Perez, Alonso, Button and Felipe Massa, who ended up down in P16, would you believe? So shocking race for him. Not good for Jenson Button either. He's obviously our rival, so we've beaten him now. In the championship, Vettel is now 33 points clear of Hamilton, with Verstappen and Ricciardo 3rd and 4th, Sainz staying 5th, Raikkonen up to 6th now after that podium, with Alonso, Kvyat, Perez and then Rosberg rounding out the top 10. Just an incredibly bad season for Rosberg. I can't believe it. He's down in P10 at this point in the championship. Then it's Massa. Then ourselves win out to P12 in front of Bottas, Button. Grosjean is up ahead of Hülkenberg. And also confirmation that Kevin Magnussen now has a singular point in this championship, which now goes towards our 20-point total in the Constructors' standings. No change whatsoever in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari still top from Mercedes and Red Bull. Then it's Toro Rosso, McLaren, Force India, Williams, ourselves. Then Haas, Manor in 10th and Sauber in 11th. Now the only team not to have scored points. Only 2 drivers yet to score points now in this championship after Kevin Magnussen added himself to the point scorers list. And they're both Sauber drivers, Felipe Nasr and Marcus Ericsson, yet to score any points. It is lovely to see Kevin Magnussen though getting in the points. And talking of points, resource points, you can see the bonus that we earn from being the first driver, which is absolutely wonderful. We're now already back restocked to 254 resource points, which is really, really cool. I did actually do an upgrade during this Canadian Grand Prix weekend for Baku. You'll see that at the start of next episode, but I did do an upgrade. That's why we're only on 254. We will have yet another upgrade for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Nevertheless, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of F1 2016 Career Mode. There you can see our rivalry with Jenson Button is currently 12-5 in our favour, and we're still impressing the team when it comes to being a first driver. If you enjoyed this episode though, feel free to hit the likes button. A very good race once again. Subscribe if you're new around here and comment about enjoying the video if you enjoyed it that much. But it's been a pleasure ranting to you guys today. Have a great day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.